Welcome to Forthright, the podcast with, for and by women writers.
We have some brilliant guest writers lined up for you this season, covering a wide range of genres and experience.
We hope you enjoy it.
Hello and welcome to Forthright. I'm Sam.
And I'm Anna, and today we're absolutely delighted to have Disha Bose here. Hello, Disha.
Hi.
So Disha was born and raised in India. She worked in the tech industry for a few years before deciding to pursue her dream of writing a novel. She lives in Ireland now, and Dirty Laundry is her debut novel,
Which we're very excited that you're going to read from for us. So the blurb for that: keep your friends close and your neighbours closer. Kira has it all: a loving husband, well-behaved children and an immaculate home. But behind the filters, her reality is far from what it seems. Mishti is stuck in a loveless marriage, raising her daughter in a country that is too cold, among children who look nothing like her. Lauren is mostly happy, despite being judged for letting her kids run naked, wild and free. Then Kira is found murdered in her pristine home, and suddenly everyone is a suspect. Hushed whispers, secret rendezvous and bloody betrayals. Everyone has their dirty laundry, but this goes beyond gossip. This is all-out war. A deliciously scandalous page-turner about the dark side of suburbia that peels back the layers of Kira's insta-perfect life to reveal friendships gone rotten, manipulation masquerading as love, and families riddled with lies. Oh, so exciting. Could you just let us know sort of whereabouts in the book you're reading from, just to give us a bit of context?
Yeah, so this is chapter 14. It's around the midpoint of the novel. And the section I'm reading from is when Kira and Lauren, the two of the three main characters, meet for the first time, which is in sort of the back story of the book. And Kira and Lauren are, as you might know, are arch enemies and they're neighbors. So it's interesting to sort of see how their first interaction went and how their relationship kind of went downhill right from the start. So I'll start.
Fab.
The first time they met, Kira had made an effort, a genuine effort with her. Lauren was the one who decided the course of their relationship. Shortly after she and Jerry had moved into the house, Kira knocked on Lauren's door with some freshly baked fruit scones in a basket. They'd chosen this house, this village, because it made perfect sense. They decided against the city because she wanted to live in a sprawling space. Kira said she wanted to see potential in a house, a place she could make her own. She was full of ideas, and Jerry didn't want to hold her back. Kira hedged that ran between the two houses, heard the cries of a child on the other side. She was eager to make friends like she'd always been. "Hello, neighbor," Kira said brightly when Lauren opened the door. Lauren's brow was furrowed, and she looked at the woman standing in the doorway with confusion. "Hello, can I help you?" Kira was taken aback too. Lauren wore a fabric contraption tied around her in multiple layers, squeezing a small baby to her body. Lauren's eyes were droopy, dark circles exaggerated them and made them appear more dramatic. She smelled sour, like milk gone off. There were fresh, wet stains down the front of her vest. An oversized patchwork shirt hung off her shoulders, and her feet were bare and dusty like she'd been working the fields. Every item of clothing on her person could have done with a wash, and Kira had to wonder if this woman had showered recently. She cleared her throat while Lauren stared at her. "Oh, you bought the big house." They both looked over at the other house, standing tall and proud on elevated ground, much like a castle on a hill. Both their back gardens had several levels and slopes, and Kira was in the process of planning, planting, and sculpting, while Lauren's was untamed. There were patches of severe overgrowth, and the tall grass was overrun with daisies and dandelions. There was one section of the hedge between the two houses that was viciously swarmed by bees on Lauren's side. Kira hoped she could offer some neighborly help and advice, but Lauren was looking at her with judgment. "I just wanted to come over and introduce myself, as I'm not rushing off to work for once," Kira continued, trying to remain chirpy. She was still at Horizon, which meant that the weekend was her only opportunity to socialize, in between working with their landscape artist and meeting with interior decorator. I'm Lauren, who said, but didn't offer to invite Kira in. Instead, she shifted the rapt child to her other side impatiently. And Kira, and who's this gorgeous little thing? She looked so peaceful and smug in there. She had some inkling of what to say to new parents, even though her ovaries weren't exactly exploding. So yeah, Lauren smiled then as she gazed down at her sleeping baby. That's a beautiful name. I made scones this morning and I brought you some. Kira held out the basket. Oh, thanks, Lauren said, looking at the basket but not reaching for it. But we're gluten free. Kira was so surprised she took a few steps back and attempted to hide the basket behind her. I'm sorry, I didn't know. A banging sound came from somewhere within the house, which made Lauren look back over her shoulders. I'm sorry, we're having quite a morning. Nobody here slept. Before Kira could even ask, Freya woke up from the sound. With her eyes still shut, she wriggled in the tight confines of the sling and let out an ear-piercing shriek. For fuck's sake, Lauren mumbled. Sean, keep it down, she yelled over her shoulder, and the banging stopped. She turned back to Kira and began bobbing up and down, sideways, back and forth, apparently in an attempt to lull the child back to sleep. Is there anything I can do to help? Kira asked. Not unless you want to go up there and help my partner take down her rotting wardrobe. Lauren shouted the words over her daughter's cries of distress. Kira wished she would just take the baby out of the thing, rock her in her arms like a normal mother would do. It seems like I've caught you at a bad time. Lauren patted the baby's bottom while she transferred her weight from one foot to the other. It's always a bad time around here these days. She rolled her eyes upwards and Kira tried to smile. She couldn't tell if it was just a joke. Maybe we should have a coffee or something one of these days. Sometimes you could come see the house. I'll give you a tour. We've been working hard on it. I mean, the interior designer and I, Jerry doesn't care about all that. Kira continued. I'm sure you remember what the place used to look like before. Can't. I'm off caffeine too. I'm breastfeeding. Lauren glanced at Kira's house and then back at her again. Her forehead was wrinkled, like she couldn't believe Kira was even standing in front of her. And you don't appear to have any kids. Trust me, you wouldn't want to spend any more time around a newborn than absolutely necessary. That's all.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. I was just completely mesmerised listening to you reading it. I absolutely loved this book. I read it in kind of 2 sittings. I just absolutely inhaled the entire thing. I just think that the characters are fascinating and the whole concept is brilliant. It feels extremely fresh. And I just want, where did the idea come from for the story?
I know it sounds strange, but it kind of came to me in a vision.
Ooh, tell us more.
But also, we were in the middle of, the pandemic, the COVID lockdowns actually, and we had a 1-year-old at the time, and I was kind of stuck at home. My husband, he was an essential worker, so he was still going to work. So I was alone with the baby all day pretty much until he'd come home in the evenings, and then we kind of switch. So I think it was, and when you're in those early month trenches of motherhood, and I was also a first-time mother, and all the other factors of the whole COVID thing, feeling isolated. I'm an immigrant in Ireland. I think it was all of that, and I must have, now when I think back to it, I must have had a lot of suppressed sort of emotions and rage. And I was also spending a lot of my time, any free time that I had away from the baby, scrolling the internet, and I joined a lot of these Facebook groups, and I was reading a lot of these motherhood blogs. And the comment section is like its own reality show. It's so entertaining, really. And I got a lot of the, I think, the character ideas from the comment section. Just kind of the back and forth and the little, the battles that they have against each other and the differences of opinions and views. And the 3 main characters in the book, Kira, Lauren, and Mishti, they're in my mind, they kind of stand for three different parenting styles. And I was interested in seeing how that would look like in a small village in an isolated part of Ireland.
Because yes, the three characters are very different, but they also kind of they almost kind of have like the best and worst of people all in those characters, and I like that idea of kind of being inspired from like the comments section and things like that as well. But it feels so much more than that, in that they just feel so rounded and believable. And I was inspired by all of them. I thought it was fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
So did you were actually writing it then during lockdown and with a 1-year-old? So how did you do that? Because that sounds like an incredible task.
And a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute nightmare to be fair. And I think it was just because I was just trying to escape certain negative aspects of that time period. And because I was kind of on maternity leave, I had nowhere to go, I was away from family, and I'd kind of abandoned my writing ambition a few years before that. And I'd never been able to finish writing a novel before. I'd abandoned all my novels by the midpoint. And I had this idea, and my husband, fortunate enough to have a very supportive husband, I suppose, and he kind of told me to just go for it. And I started the novel without any goals for it. I wasn't planning on sending it out to agents or getting it published. I wanted it out of my system. And so I was working on the book in the evenings when my husband would come home from work, or at night when our baby was asleep for the few hours that she would sleep. But even then, initially, the first few evenings, even I'd find myself coming downstairs at the first cry, or if I thought that she might meet me, because I was so distracted and I was procrastinating. But then my husband got me noise cancellation headphones, and that changed the game for me. I was truly able to sort of concentrate, and I was just trying to get it off my chest. And that's how the first draft was written. I was literally just typing out every thought that came to my mind.
Sam and I are both massive fans of the noise cancelling headphones as well.
I know, yeah, it's a game changer.
So you were saying that you had this idea that came to you, and that you sat down and started writing it. And I know that you had previously written kind of short stories and poetry as well. And I wonder, when you sat down to write this, did you know you were writing a full novel, or was it something that just gained momentum the more you started writing it?
It certainly gained momentum the more I was writing it. But I think what happened was that I had very fully formed characters in my head. And I had that, the final scene, which is also sort of the first scene in the book, because it kind of loops back the story. I had that very fully formed as well. I kind of visualized it almost like I was watching a movie. And that's where I began from. And because I felt like I knew my characters so well, and I needed to form their characters and kind of put in their backstories and develop that, it just kind of, I think I knew it was going to be a novel. It wasn't supposed to be a short story, but again, because I wasn't writing with a goal in mind, I just kept going. I think that's kind of how it worked for me. I wasn't forcing myself to complete it, or I wasn't working with a word count. And that's how I feel it works for me. And everybody's process is different. And for me, when I don't have that pressure on me, that's when it really clicks.
So with you said before that you've kind of got lots of unfinished things, and then this is the one that you you got over the finish line. Now I think you've finished your second book, is that right? finished writing it.
Yes, I
and
have.
how was that process different, kind of, not being in lockdown and having the world available to you as well?
Very different. Again, after I finished writing those and after it was published, I was working on a different novel, which I didn't finish and abandoned midway. So it's definitely a trend in my life, I think. But again, with the book that I have written now, the second book, the idea just sort of came to me, and my agent was expecting a completely different book. And what I delivered to her was not what we talked about. So she was, again, completely taken aback. And with the second book, yes, like you said, the world is looking very different now. Our daughter is, when I wrote this, she was around 4 and she's 5 now. And, I'm spending way more time outdoors at playgrounds and play days. And I've written most of my second book on my phone. Because I'd just be sort of sitting with her doing arts and crafts, and I'd steal moments away and write on my app on the phone, like my writing app on the phone. And then when I'd have time in the evening, I went and edited and proofread on the computer. So the process, it's been completely different for the second book. Or I'd even be staying up at night writing on my phone in bed. Like I'd be ready to go to sleep, and then some line would come to me and I'd pull my phone out and type it out on my phone. So yeah, completely different, but in some ways. But then in other ways, I think, again, when I wasn't forcing it was when this second book came to me as well. And I was trying to very meticulously write a completely different book that just wasn't going anywhere.
I totally understand that. With my book that I'm writing, there was a book that I was writing for some time, which I had to then leave to one side, and then had an idea for something else, and it's coming far easier. And I think it's a real, it's quite a difficult thing to give yourself permission to say, I'm not going to do this anymore, but I've got something else.
Yeah.
I just wonder as well.
Admit defeat and
it's because you studied creative writing or literature, and then went to work in tech. That's right, isn't it? For a tech startup, and then came back to writing. How's that been like as a journey, or a kind of a compare and contrast? Because I imagine they're very different worlds.
Yeah, very different worlds. Yeah, I studied English literature in my undergraduate, and then I did a master's in journalism, and I just didn't have the gumption for journalism at all. I remember, and this was in India. I remember first I had like an internship, and they sent me out to cover this train accident, and I literally quit that day. It was my first day on the job, and I just didn't do it because I couldn't, just didn't have the gumption for it. And that's when I kind of knew or thought I knew that writing was just not going to go anywhere for me, because writing a novel or making a career out of books and writing just didn't seem like a reality for me. This is 2011, say, ish. And there just weren't a lot of South Asian female authors being published in sort of popular fiction. And so that's formally why I decided to go into tech, because I needed a job and I needed to pay the rent. And I got into tech, and I was kind of in the content side of things. And I did that for a couple of years, and completely different. Again, I'm just not made for that sort of desk 9 to 5 startup industry lifestyle, which is all very, like, they pay you really well, and they make you work for it, and it was just not my cup of tea. And I did that for a couple of years and decided I needed to give writing another shot, and so I did a master's in creative writing then, because I just wanted to kind of get back into it, because I hadn't been writing for several years. And I just wanted to kind of surround myself with like-minded people. So the master's really helped with that.
And then at what point did you, approach an agent and so on? you talked about, your agent expecting a different book with book 2, but did you have an agent while you were working on Dirty Laundry, or was it kind of, did you kind of send your manuscript out?
Yeah, I sent my manuscript out. So I wrote the book and didn't really have any expectations. And then after I'd written the book and kind of edited it once, I realized that maybe it had something in it to make it publishable, and I sent it around to agents then. So literally the week after I'd finished the manuscript, I sent it out to agents. And then I got picked up by my agent, Marianne Gunnacorner in Ireland, and then she sent it out to publishers. So it all happened very quickly with Dirty Laundry. And now I work very closely with my agent.
And when the book was going out, because it's a brilliant book. I mean, how long was the process between your Dirty Laundry going out on submission and you finding a publisher? Because you're with Penguin Random House, aren't you? So
yes. But that was a one book deal. So the second book is not with Viking in the UK. And in the US, but they're all in Penguin Random House, I suppose. It's just different imprints. So it happened very quickly. I'd say within 10 days, I had the book deal. Yeah, within 10 days of it going into submission.
God, that's
amazing.
Yeah, so that's dream stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that is dream stuff. And to be fair, like it's not been the same story with the second book because that was a one book deal. And we had to start the process all over again with the second book. So I'd say that's an anomaly. it's definitely not the norm in the industry.
So can I ask, is there anything that you're working on at the moment?
I'm still working on the edits for book 2. We're kind of in the finalization process on book cover and all of that. And I just started writing book 3, like literally last week. So, yeah. And
is this a similar process of book 1 and book 2 where you've had a kind of an epiphany of just what this book would be, and then it will come to you as it's, or have you got a fully formed kind of plan in your mind for book 3? How are you approaching book 3?
Yeah, book 3. I've had this idea for a while now. And again, I suppose for me, the characters really have to stick in my head, and I kind of live with the characters for a while before I start writing them. So that's kind of my approach with book 3. But given my history, who knows if this is even going to become a book or not. I started it and it might go nowhere. So I'm still in those initial stages with book 3.
My process is very much get sort of midway point and then have a shiny new idea and then follow that. And I can relate to that. So, you're talking about writing on your phone in any kind of bits and pieces of time. I'm just wondering then how you kind of you keep your momentum going, because I feel like I'm someone that I need to kind of sit down for and know I've got a few hours without interruption to kind of have the headspace to do stuff. And I'd love to be able to much more dip in and out of what I'm working on. So have you got kind of a trick so that you can do it in those little spurts?
Honestly, I don't think it's a trick. I think it's just everybody's process is unique. Because I have tried I'd reserve certain hours of the day to sit down and write, and that just doesn't work for me. It seems like too much space maybe, and I just end up procrastinating. I'll do the laundry. I'll do anything to avoid sitting down and writing. And I was wasting a lot of time doing that. And I just don't think that works for me. And what works for me is when the idea, and this is an idea for even, say, a dialogue or the first sentence of a chapter or a twist in the chapter, whatever. If that comes to me, I just sit down, and don't even need to sit down. I'll be at the playground and I'll just take my phone out and write it. And when I have the time, instead of writing, I actually put it all together and edit and proofread. And that's sort of kind of what works for me. And I think everybody's process is so different that it's not really a trick. It's just the way your brain works. For me, that's what works. Just kind of being on the go.
And not, I guess they're not kind of trying to force creativity when it's maybe not happening. But yeah, the time that you've got to sit down, then it's almost like planning. The bits and pieces that you're doing is sort of the planning, and then sitting down and putting it together and the editing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And with that as a process as well, if any of your writing involves any research, do you kind of like post research things, as it were, if you're
I'm laughing because I absolutely, that's the way of things. I don't know why I just avoid it, and I feel like all my plots and characters are very I'll write things just to avoid having to research something. There'll be changes in the story I made just for that sake. But no, I will do post research. I suppose that's what I'll do. I'll write and then I'll change things around if I find that it's incorrect. But even so, there's this character in my second book who was initially American, and then I've written the whole book, and because obviously I'm not American, I don't live in America, I don't have many people I'm close to who live in the States, and I just changed that character to be South African because one of my closest friends is South African, so I could get a lot of cultural insight, and just because I didn't want to get anything wrong, and B, I didn't want to spend ages trying to, and just I wouldn't get it right. I knew it if I didn't have that personal connection. So for me, that's kind of what works. I do find a lot of inspiration from real life and people I know, things like that.
Can I ask as well? So, with your second book and with the kind of thinking of the third as well, are they in a similar genre to Dirty Laundry? Yeah, and so
no, and that's what was shocking for me.
Interesting.
The second book is because I was trying to write another sort of domestic thriller drama as Dirty Laundry is, because I thought that was my thing, that was my genre and style. But my second book that I eventually wrote is, I would describe it as more drama, comedy, romance, really.
Interesting.
And I didn't know I had it in me. And I'm just my agent. And so I ended up writing that. And my third book, the one I think I'm writing, is sort of in the same vein as well. So I might have found my rhythm now. I'm not sure. I'm also the kind of person who, for me, the story is more important than the genre. You know what I mean? It's the characters in the story and the experiences are way more important than what sort of category you put the book in. But that doesn't always work in the publishing industry, and it's not always sellable and marketable. So, yeah.
Oh, well, we are very excited to, follow the story of that and hope to have our hands on other books by you in the not too distant future. So a lot of our listeners are kind of emerging writers or, starting to think about maybe writing a novel. So just wondered if you had a golden nugget of advice for them of what you wish you'd known when you started out.
I'd say reading a lot, but also reading very widely, reading as many genres as you can, because I feel like the more you read and the more you step out of your comfort zone, the more you learn. And I read every book as a sort of learning experience as well. Even though I'm enjoying the reading experience, I like to kind of dissect what the writer's done and, sort of really learn from that. And that has been really helpful for me in the last couple of years, just being inspired from different writing styles and the tricks of the trade that you learn along the way. And Definitely, my other piece of advice to any emerging writer would be to find the right agent. I think that really makes a difference to your career. Just finding an agent who will, have you in their corner and kind of just have your back, and someone you connect with and someone you can trust.
And so, for our listeners who would like to find your books, are you and to follow you? Are you on social media at all? And if so, what are your handles, or how can we find you?
Yeah, I'm active on Instagram mostly, and my handle is Disha Bose.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So if anybody who's listening, if you can follow Disha, and then you can find out when her second novel is out, and then keep following her so that we can find out about the third as well. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We've really, really loved talking to you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. This is lovely.
You've been listening to the Forthright podcast.
Check out our website, forthright.uk, for further writing resources and tips.